they need to reach out to other members of their group to help them, to help them succeed. I mean, there's a group in New York called.
I understand.
There's a group in New York. Let me finish. Called
sorry.
called the count. Called 100 Black Men, and they feel that I mean, and they, as far as I know, they don't exclude white men, but they call themselves 100 Black Men because they feel that younger Black men, Black boys, and so forth need leadership figures.
But don't the white boys need it too? I mean, there are white boys that are just as underprivileged as black boys, right?
I would say, sadly, if we look at things, if we look at our prisons, if we look at some of the problems we've seen in schools, look, I'm not saying that there aren't underprivileged white boys, but if you look at even 50 years ago, Daniel Patrick Moynihan talked about the deterioration of the black family, and that's
good points.
and that's exacerbated over the years.
But
so
not
I mean,
all the black families.
No, not
a lot of them. But so you can't judge. You can't generalize about a race as far as them being criminals or bad character or anything, because character and actions are individual, right? And so when you generalize, you're making a mistake. Every member of a specific group does not share the characteristics that are prevalent in that group.
You cannot generalize, but you can take a look at what the facts are now, where we are now, and if you see that partly because of some of the poor social policies that we've pursued over the last 50 years, if you take a look and see young black men growing up in homes without fathers, and then start projecting that out into seeing them falling into crime and getting locked up and so forth, you realize that there needs to be a focus on their development. Now, that does not mean, as some would say, more government programs.
But the same thing could happen to white boys who don't have fathers for the same reasons. Right? So the point, I think, let me clarify more what I think. I think it's okay to generalize but you shouldn't assume that your conclusion is true. In other words, like Jesse Jackson, he was famous with saying that if he was in the dark alley and he saw that a black guy was following him, he was more nervous than if it was a white guy. There's nothing wrong with that. He's not saying that that man is a criminal.
Of course not.
He's not concluding necessarily that he's a criminal. He just knows the percentages. He's rational. So he thinks, since crime is more prevalent in the black community, percentage-wise, well, it's more probable that this guy might be dangerous. But if he said, I know that guy is a criminal, I know he has bad character, then he's a racist.
No. I don't disagree with that. Like I said, the broader point I was trying to make is that while we don't want to make generalizations, as you
we can use them for the right reason.
No, yeah, but at the same time though, the point I was trying to make is that there are there are legitimate reasons for private groups if they feel that their particular group is falling by the wayside, possibly by government policies, possibly by other socialist policies. They may find it important to band together and say and give and project positive successful role models for them. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Do affirmative action programs use race as a factor to evaluate a person's merits of entry, for example, in a university, or set-aside programs?
I'm
Well,
asking a question again.
I'm asking, do affirmative action programs use race as a factor to evaluate the merits?
I think by definition they do. I mean that's how that was how they were created.
So these would be racist policies.
Those would be racist policies.
And so, wouldn't it be better if we just got race out of the law and didn't consider a person's race and just evaluated everybody based on their actions, their actual character,
their merit, and their merits?
Right. And so isn't that what we need? I mean, by treating people differently based on their race, we're affirming racism.
The phrase I would put it is trying to use race to solve the problems of race is ultimately self-defeatist.
Okay, Roger.